Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to discuss Class 7, Chapter 1 History. Name of the chapter is Tracing Changes Through 1,000 Years. So, let's start. Okay, so what is tracing changes through 1,000 years? It means that we trace changes through 1,000 years. Now, take a look at maps 1 and 2. Map 1 was made in 1154 CE by the Arab geographer Al-Idrisi. The section reproduced here is a detail of the Indian subcontinent from his larger map of the world. And map 2 was made in the 1720s by a French cartographer. Now, you must be thinking that they are very different from each other as it is the map of the same area. In Al Idrisi map, South India is where we would expect to find North India and Sri Lanka is the island at the top. Okay. Place names are marked in Arabic and there are some well-known names like Kannauj in Uttar Pradesh, spelled in map as Kannauj. Map 2 was made nearly about 600 years after Map 1. During this period, information about the subcontinent had changed considerably or variably. This map seems more familiar to us, and the coastal areas in particular are surprisingly detailed. This map was used by European sailors and merchants on their voyages. Equally important is the fact that the science of cartography differed in the two periods. When historians read documents, maps, and text from the past, they have to be sensitive to different historical backgrounds, the context in which information about the past was produced. Okay, now we will move forward. New and old terminologies. Historical records exist in a variety of languages. The term Hindustan was coined by Minna Chaisers, a chronicler who wrote in Persian for areas around Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between the Ganga and the Yamuna. So he is Minna Chaisers, a chronicler who wrote in Persian for areas about Punjab, Haryana, and the lands between Ganga and the Yamuna. Babar used Hindustan to describe the flora and fauna and the culture of the inhabitants of the subcontinent. 14th century. Poet Amir Khusru used the word Hind. In Hindi, the term Pardesi was used to describe an alien. In Persian, it was called Ajnabi. Now, historians and their sources. Coins, inscriptions, architecture, and textual records are used to gather information about the past. People gradually started writing holy text, chronicles of rulers, letters and teachings of saints, petitions and judicial records, and register of accounts and taxes. And that time, when the historians used the sources, people started writing holy text and chronicles of rulers, letters and teachings of saints, petitions and judicial records, and also register of accounts and taxes. Manuscripts. What are manuscripts? Scripts which are written by own handwriting and by hand. Manuscripts were written and collected by wealthy people, rulers, monasteries, and temples. They were also placed in temples and monasteries. These contain a lot of detailed information. Since these were handwritten, they were difficult to comprehend. There were no printing presses and the text were copied by hand, which led to slight changes in them. Over time, since the authentic writer could not be found, the disparities continued. And as a result, historians have to read different manuscripts. And guess what? The author had originally written. A 14th century chronicler, Ziauddin Barani, wrote his chronicle first in 1356 and another after 2 years later. The two different from each other, but historians did not know about the existence of the first person. And the 13th century chronicler was Minhaj Isis, and the 14th century chronicler was Ziauddin Barani. Now, historian and their sources. The information about the medieval period is derived from two sources: archaeological and literacy. Archaeological sources available to us include monuments, temples, coins, tombs, ornaments, and paintings. Since paper became available in good quantum, a lot of writer accounts in the form of Bronchi's autobiographies. Farmers and accounts of foreign travelers are available from this period in Persian and Arabic. So he is, uh, what is, yeah, Ziauddin Barani. Now we'll talk about new social and political groups. There were various changes that happened between 700 and 1750 at different moments in this period. New technological made their appearance, like Persian wheel in irrigation, the spinning wheel in weaving, and firearms in combat. And the Nastaliq style on the left is cursive and easy to write. The Sikaste on the right is denser and more difficult. Potatoes, corns, chilies, teas, and coffees were new food items that arrived in the subcontinent India. New people brought new ideas with them and brought a lot of economic, political, and social and cultural changes. Rajputra or Rajputs were Kshatriyas who claimed ruler status. They had a variety of code of conduct, extreme valor, and a great sense of loyalty. Marathas, Sikhs, Jats, Ahoms, and castes, a caste of scribes and secretaries, also used the opportunities of the age to become politically important. Ranks were not fixed permanently and varied accordingly to the power, influence, and resources, and from area to area. Jatis framed their own rules and regulations to manage the conduct of their members. These regulations were enforced by an assembly of elders described in some areas as Jati Panchayat. But Jatis were also required to follow the rules of the village. Several villagers were governed by a chieftain. Reason and Empire. Around 700, many regions already posed distinct geographical dimensions and their language and cultural characteristics. These are a considerable conflict between the states and occasionally dynasties. Like the Cholas, Khaljis, Tughlaqs, and Mughals were able to find an empire that was pan-regional, but not all these empires were equally stable or successful. So here it is a picture of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, a ruler of Tughlaq dynasty. Across the subcontinent, there were small and big states that ruled over them, and these led to emergence of distinct and shared traditions. In the realms of governance, the management of the economy, life culture, and language. And these regions felt that the impact of larger pan-regional forces of interrogation without ever quite losing their distinctiveness. Language and reason. In 1318, the poet Amir Khurasu noted that there was a different language in every region of this land. Sindhi, Lahori, Kashmiri, Dwar Samudri, Telangani, Gujari, Mahabari, Gauri, Awadhi, and Hindavi. Amir Khursu went on to explain that, in contrast to these languages, there was Sanskrit, which did not belong to any region. It was an old language, and common people do not know it. Only Brahmins do. So now you have to prepare another list of the names of languages spoken today in the regions he mentioned. Underline the names that are similar and circle those that are different. Did you notice that the names by which languages are known have changed over time? Old and new religions. People trust in spiritually was personal, but the ideas were also communal. The belief in reason changed over time as the social and economic organizations of local communities changed over time. And like Hinduism, Islam was interpreted in a variety of ways by its followers. There were other important differences between the various schools of law, like Hanafi and Shafi, mainly in India, and in theology and mystic traditions. And that time, new religions appeared in the subcontinent. The merchants and the migrants first brought and teachings of the Holy Quran to India in the 7th century. Muslims regarded that Quran is as their holy book and accept that sovereignty of the one God known as Allah, whose love, mercy, and bounty embrace all those who believe in Him without regard to social background. And the knowledge of Sanskrit text earned the Brahmins a lot of respect in society. And they were provided with a lot of support from the rulers too. These led to development of the Bhakti movement. And during this period, Hinduism saw a change in the way that the religion operated. These included the worship of new deities, the construction of temples by royalty, and the growing importance of Brahmins, the priests as dominant groups in society. So here is old and new religions picture. Here you can see, uh, here it is known as teacher sitting in the tiger's skin. Now we will discuss about thinking about time and historical periods. The British historian divided the history of India into three periods. First is Hindu, Muslim, and British. Most historians look to economic and social factors to characterize the major elements of different moments of the past. The life of hunter gatherers, early farmers, and early empires were called early societies. The growth of imperial state formations, development of Hinduism and Islam as major religions, and the arrival of European trading companies were called the medieval period. Prosperity during this period brought European trading companies to India. The last era was called the modern period, which carried a sense of material progress and intellectual development. So here it is the historical period: prehistory, ancient history, middle history, modern history, and contemporary history. Prehistory, that is the life of hunter gatherers, early farmers, and early empires. Ancient history is about kings, queens, and their kingdom. Medieval history is about historical periods, rulers, and empires, and Mahasamantas, and more. Modern history, talking about government and many other things. Contemporary age is talking about rockets, space science, and many other things. Important dates: 7th century AD, the teaching of the holy text Quran brought to India. 1154, map of the Indian subcontinent made by Ali. 1266 to 1287, design of Delhi Sultan Ghiyasuddin Balban. 1356, Ziauddin Barani wrote his first chronicle. He wrote another version 2 years later. So here we have completed our chapter. If you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And also don't forget to comment in the comment section below. And bye bye all of you. Have you have enjoyed the video a lot. Thank you very much.